Welcome back to No Recipe Required. Hope you're doing well. I'm Dave. Today I want to show you how to make a potato leek soup. It's got a little bit of cream in it, chicken stock base. It's really delicious and really only a few ingredients. Let's get to it by sauteing off some bacon.
So here I've got a pan on the heat, medium to high heat, and I've got some bacon that I've just diced up here. I added just a little bit of olive oil to help that bacon get started on sauteing, and I'm just going to let that bacon render out, give up all its fat, and get nice and crispy in the pan before we saute our onions and leeks. You just kind of want to spread it out, make sure you get one layer down on the pan there. You don't need to move it around too much, but you do want it nicely rendered, good and crispy, give up all that flavor. You could leave the bacon out altogether if you wanted to make it vegetarian, but bacon, leeks, potato, it's a natural combination and tastes great together. Once this renders out, gets crispy, we'll come back and start sauteing our vegetables.
So while we've got our bacon off sauteing, I've diced up a large onion or a medium-sized onion, as well as a couple garlic cloves, and then I'm also going to break down a couple leeks. I'm not going to go through the full process here. You can find it elsewhere on the site. But essentially, what we're looking to do, I've got 2 leeks. I'm going to go ahead and just break these down, similar dice to the onion. What you're looking to do, you don't really use the green stemmy part. You're looking for the white part here. I usually take off a leaf or two, and you want to make sure you clean them really, really well. I usually take the bottom off, take the tops off, kind of garbage, split it down the middle, and then take it over to the sink and make sure you wash it real well. Get all the dirt out of there. Once we do that, we'll come back and dice up our potatoes. So while my bacon is rendering off, I just broke down the leeks that I've got here, and again, after cleaning them, I broke them down into these kind of half moon shapes. I like to use about the same amount of leek as I've got onion, and in this case it was about 2. If you want to use 3 though, that's totally fine. I'm going to set this aside, and again, while the bacon's rendering out, we'll dice up our potato. I like to take the skins off the potato, and I generally use, I've got these Yukon Gold potatoes, but frankly, you can use russet potatoes as well. Those work just as well. And you don't have to be super neat here, because we're just going to puree the soup in the end. Let me get rid of my peel here. I like to keep a trash can right next to my workspace so I can just dump stuff away. If you got one of these nasty brown spots, just cut it out and toss it. Just for cooking's sake, I like to put the potatoes into dice, and you want to keep the dice roughly the same size and shape. So you go through, you can make these matchsticks, then turn it 90 degrees and go through, and then you've got nice even dice. I'm going to go ahead and do that with the other potatoes. I like to store these in water. Just put them in a pot like this, and then cover them in water so they don't turn brown, because we're going to saute the vegetables off before we put the potatoes in. So my bacon has rendered out, and I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to remove that to a separate plate here. You don't have to get every single piece, but I like to get most of it out, just for this initial saute, because it can get maybe a little bit overcooked as we saute our onions and our garlic down. And then I check the fat and the amount of oil that I've got in the pan. If it looks like too much or more than what you would need to saute the vegetables you have, then go ahead and remove some. I'm going to keep mine in there because it looks okay. And then I'm going to add my onion into the pan and get that guy in there. And there was garlic in there as well. And then I'm also going to add my leek. And you can see this is almost half the pot that I've got filled up with the vegetables here. I'm going to go ahead and salt it
like we normally do with vegetables like this to help some of that moisture come out and the vegetables break down. And I'm going to give it a good stir to kind of toss everything together. And this will help, it'll also help remove some of that fond from the bottom of the pan, some of that good bacon flavor. And this is going to reduce down and get wilted, let the onions become transparent, translucent. Not looking to get brown on the vegetables because it's a light white kind of soup, and that brownness will give it color that we're not really looking for. So this will probably take half an hour or so on medium to medium-low heat to really break down. Once we get there, we'll come back and we'll start adding the other ingredients. Alright, so we are back, and you can see how much my leek and onion have cooked down. Mine actually, at the very end, it started to started to brown a little bit more than I wanted to. So I just dumped in a tiny bit of water, which is why it looks a little bit wet, but that's totally fine. I've got now my diced potatoes. Here I've put them in water so that they didn't turn brown. And I'm just going to drain off that water. You can drain it into the sink. We're not going to use it. And we go ahead and we add our potatoes in there. I like to also add a little bit of parsley. I'm sorry, not parsley, a little bit of thyme. And then I am also going to add in chicken stock to cover. Boy, my chicken stock top is not cooperating. I'm going to go ahead and add in chicken stock to cover. You know, one of the things, I'm going to use this whole carton. One of the things you can do to make it flow a little quicker, I've got a knife here. If you just puncture in the side a little bit, it'll all come out much faster. That looks like a good quantity there. If you've got a bay leaf, you might want to throw that in there as well. I like to season with a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt. I'll go light on the salt now because we'll have plenty of chance to re-season at the end. I'm also going to add in my bacon. Now, if you're going to eat this tonight, I couldn't help, I just grabbed a little piece. If you're going to eat this tonight, after we blend it, you might want to reserve a few pieces of this and you can sprinkle it on top after you serve it as a bit of a garnish. But I'm just going to go ahead and add mine. Now the goal here, we're going to let this simmer until the potatoes are cooked and it's reduced down a little bit. And once we get there, we're going to add in some cream, we'll blend it all together, and then we'll have our potato leek soup. Alright, so my soup is now cooked for about an hour, and what we're looking for is a nice doneness on the potatoes, which you can tell by inserting a knife. If it penetrates easily and comes out easily, then you are good to go. I did, while you weren't looking, I did slip a bay leaf in there, and before we puree the soup, I'm going to pull that out. You don't want this blended in with the rest of the soup. And then I've got my my boat motor here, and what we're going to do is just blend this together to get a nice smooth consistency. If you wanted to, you could do it. You could do this in the blender as well. You just want to be super careful with hot liquids in the blender. Once this gets done, we'll come back. We'll finish it off. So once you think you've got it to a nice consistency, nice and smooth, go ahead and give it a little taste. This one, I like that consistency. I think it could use just a little bit more salt and pepper. Now, what I also like to finish my leek and potato soup off with is a little bit of cream. I'm going to add probably 1/3 of the cup or so. If you really want to leave it out, you can go ahead and do that. But I think it adds quite a bit of richness and kind of a velvety texture to the soup, and it also gives it a little bit nicer color. You know, brightens it up, makes it a little more white. Now we're pretty much done. You can go ahead, serve this as is. or put a little garnish on it. I like to snip some chives over the top, maybe a little creme fraiche or sour cream, and it's absolutely delicious. I'll see you next time on No Recipe Required.